59. Eric is starting our Zoom and he's opening the Zoom room to all of our guests at 7 o'clock. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Tonight's meeting is Tuesday, February the 20th, and our guests, the Cub Scouts from Pack 98. Thank you. Pack 98 are going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So if everyone will please stand and face the flag. Pledge of, go ahead, guys. And if everyone would remain standing for a moment of silence, we're just going to reflect on people who are no longer with us. We're going to reflect on the hard work that all of our first responders put in for all of us, and also remember those who were involved in the unfortunate church shooting down in Texas. Okay, thank you. Seat for a moment. Okay. So, the Zoom room is open and we're going to have everyone remain muted until the board recognizes if they have their hand held up. If you don't want to be seen on the boardroom TVs, you must have your camera turned off of Zoom. In-person participants will be given first opportunities to comment and ask questions, and then the Zoom participants will be given second opportunity on any agenda item that requires a board vote. Zoom participants must raise their hand, the hand icon, please, when they want to speak. We are being recorded via Zoom. The recording will be uploaded later to the township's web YouTube channel, excuse me. Under Chairman's report, the biennial ABC planning meeting will take place on Tuesday, March the 12th at 6:30 p.m. The public, as well as the ABC members, are encouraged to attend. We also did not have an executive session prior to this meeting, but we all 5 supervisors did meet with the Cub Scout Pack 98 to discuss what elected officials do. And we do have a few moments of public comment. If anybody wishes to make a public comment about a non-agenda item, and actually this would be a good opportunity if the Cubs wanted to leave at this time, or you can wait for a few minutes after our emergency services reports. So it's your choice. Do you want to take off now, or are you going to wait for a few minutes? All right. Thanks for coming, everybody.
Thank you.
You guys had great questions. We really appreciate it. All right. No
Thank you.
problem. Thank you. Thanks for coming tonight.
You got the pencils? Took it out of your cup.
All right. So our Cubs are leaving. That leaves our public, and it leaves us to our WeGo report. Chief Bernat, do you want to come on up and give us a report, please?
Madam Chair, as the chief's coming up, I just wanted to note a little bit odd in the agenda, but I do have an agenda item in conjunction with the chief's report. That's a discussion and possible passage of an MOU regarding the police protection units.
Right.
It's a little, it's necessary that the chief be involved in this conversation, so I wanted to put it with her report.
Terrific.
Good evening, everyone. Real quick statistical report. For the month of January, we handled 2,221 different incidents. Of those 2,221, 1,184 involved East Goshen. We find that overall our calls remain rather high, but as we go further and further past COVID, they're starting to return to our pre-pandemic levels. We invite everybody to visit our website. There's a lot of information on there. And we also invite you to attend our police commission meetings. Next one will be held Wednesday, this coming Wednesday, not this Wednesday, the following
Okay, I
Wednesday.
was gonna say I'm in trouble.
If that doesn't work for your schedule, all of our meetings are recorded and they're available also on our website on your schedule, so you can watch them at any time. With regard to January in East Goshen, it was a relatively quiet month in East Goshen. We only had one missing adult investigation whose subject was located, one child abuse investigation, one simple assault investigation, and one sex offense investigation. With regard to trends, there were two trends that I'd like to point out to everyone. The first one is disturbance, domestic harassment investigations. There were 17 of those. That's a little high for the township, but not overly concerning. With regard to fraud investigations, the good news is that they continue, but at a lower level than previous months. We only had 8 of them, and there was no commonality among those investigations. They varied from things such as computer repair scams, Facebook marketplace scams, and identity theft, and there were 8 of those. Any questions?
I don't have any questions regarding the report.
Okay,
Anybody else? No.
did you want me to stay up here or?
I think that it was best, could you stay there for just a moment, please?
Absolutely.
Okay, Derek, do you want to take this?
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. So everybody knows at this point, Thornbury Township had decided to not renew their police services agreement with Westtown East Goshen. So we are in need of a temporary solution right now when it comes to the police protection units. Primarily because with Thornbury Township gone at it brings an imbalance to the sectors that are currently put on the street right now with the police. We have 4. Thornbury, I think, Chief, took up half of one sector. Is that correct?
Roughly a third of
Okay.
one of 2 sectors.
So the way the police protection units are done, us and West essentially reconcile every September, right after September, after the PPU year ends, in order to make sure there's not that much of an imbalance. So we have roughly 55.5 and 44.5. So usually it has to be within a 0.5% in order to not have to one township to pay back the other. So this would be a temporary suspension of that system, primarily because, again, mathematically, it's going to be very difficult to get into that 0.5%. The chief can elaborate on that, but we're looking to implement this MOU until September 30th, 2025. Right now, as the chief knows, we're going through a couple of different processes in order to make sure we structure the department in a strong way going forward. But a temporary measure is needed, for these PPUs. So, Chief, I don't know if you want to give a little bit more flavor to that, but
Basically, PPU is a service hour, and the townships determine among themselves how much service they want from the department. There is a long-standing mathematical calculation that we've used, and generally over the course of time, it has been roughly 55.5 East Goshen, 44.5 Westtown, and that was after the Thornbury hours are taken out. So we had served Thornbury for roughly 31 years. So we have 31 years of expertise in balancing the PPUs among 3 townships. Now we're trying to go down to 2. And it's going to be a challenge, but we're planning on making changes within the department. The townships that are looking at several options. And as we begin to move forward, we need to know what it looks like with just 2 townships in the mix.
So,
and Mark Thompson has reviewed this in conjunction with myself and
right.
had no issue with it.
So I don't have a problem with seeing where the PPUs fall where they may. My concern is that if East Goshen Township were to exceed the normal 55.5% by a certain amount, that would mean then that our partner is offsetting what we're spending. By the same token, the reverse could be true, where Westtown could be taking more of the service hours and in fact, then we would be supplementing them. And I don't want there to be any ill will. I'm wondering, is there any way outside of the PPUs, allowing them to fall where they may? Is there a way we can have a reckoning financially only and still allow the PPUs to fall where they may till September of 2025? but allow at least if the PPUs exceed a certain percentage on either side, at least then that partner would pay the other partner if that, I don't know, is that something that we can do?
That kind of defeats the proposal that's in front of you. The one thing that I need to make clear is that we really have no control over calls for service.
Right.
And the only way that we've been balancing this is through traffic enforcement. We can continue to try to do that moving forward so that it doesn't get totally out of hand. And we will report on the PPUs every month, so the police commission can look at that and say, I know our plan was, but we
Okay.
need to revisit because it's getting too far out of hand.
Okay,
And I agree with you, you should never allow it to get that completely unbalanced.
yeah, I just don't want it to get to the point where it's so unbalanced that one partner is supplementing the other partner.
Right.
And, you know, because it's not partners, it's tax dollars.
Chief Clerk, correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, we're not just gonna let this go. I mean, there is gonna be an effort to try to do our best at balancing on the 55.5 and the 44.5. But it's just a matter of possibly not being able to mathematically work it because of the Thornberry absence.
Okay, all right, good. I'm okay
That's
with
our
that. then.
plan.
Okay,
We wanted to do a couple months where we just let it flow
Yeah.
to see what the new natural, what the new norm is. But we would never allow it to get unbalanced to that degree.
okay. That was really my only concern. I don't even have a problem if, you know, if we do take more of our PPUs, more of the PPUs. I just don't want to see West Township residents paying for that. That's my concern, and I don't want to see them paying for our overages either. So as long as you're gonna keep an eye on it, that's fine. I'm not worried about that. Yeah.
The township is that the PPU, which is just one of many systems
Mhm.
for allocating portions of the budget. And every year, regional police departments around Pennsylvania will do a report and they send it to an entity that then sends it out to everybody. I found that in the last 11 years, the number of regional police departments using PPUs is slowly dwindling away. Perhaps the townships will want to consider another system for determining budget shares.
Okay,
But I will certainly present that to the police commission if there's an interest in it.
okay. And did West Town sign this agreement? Yeah, or not?
They're voting on it tonight.
Oh, they're voting on it tonight as
Yeah,
well.
because they had a holiday.
Okay.
yesterday. Yeah.
It seems to me that it's fine that we get rid of the agreement if we want to do that. Is that what the commission wanted to do, Cody?
It's my understanding that West Town is gonna be in favor of this tonight as well. Yes.
Okay, but the fact of the matter is, we're still going to be paying 55.5%, and they're going to be paying 44.5%. Unless something changes.
Yes, this is just has to do with the reconciliation on the 0.5 difference at the end of the year.
Okay,
Okay, that's fine as a resolution, and I'm all for it. But it seems to me that this is a small piece of the
It's a small piece and it's not a long-term, it's
reorganization
not a
that's gonna have
long-term,
to happen.
no, it's not a long-term fix at all, and it's a very small piece of the puzzle for sure. But it's necessary in order to let the department do the job they need to do. At least that's the way, you know, we talked about it at commission level.
Okay. And what's the plan going forward for figuring out how we're gonna reorganize the department?
Well, we do have, the biggest thing right now is getting the RFP out the door for, the staffing study, if you will, and we were hoping as a commission to do that by March 1st, I believe. So that was the target, get it out to the vendors, and I think that's gonna be the foundation from there, in order to work with, you know, the consultant or the company, whoever gets it, and then, yeah, that's basically the plan. That's the big thing on the big ticket item is getting the RFP out the door.
And then I don't know if there's some kind of turn here, but we've talked with the chief about her coming up with some potential solutions as well to help minimize some of the overtime, and with the reduction of Thornberry, what does that look like moving forward? So.
Okay.
And then she'll give us the percentage as well for the PPU and moving forward and such. So.
We report on the PPU every police commission meeting, and that will not change.
Barbara, do you have any questions at this time?
No, that was my question, and if we should put in the language in the motion that we'll be receiving that report. The police commission will be receiving that.
They get it all the time. That's.
It's
part of the
everyone.
Peter, do you have any questions?
Yeah, yes, how else do you measure if you don't use the TPU? How else do you measure it? We talked about different ways to measure it or something.
A lot of times what they will do is they will look at calls for service rather than trying to count the hours. We actually break it down to 15-minute increments. What they do is they look at calls for service and they average that over a 5-year period. And then based upon that, if, you have 55% of the calls and you have 44.5% of the calls, then that's the way that you would balance your budget. And what they do is because they have a rolling 5-year span, you will know that further in advance with the PPU. What has always been challenging with the PPU year is it ends at the beginning of October. And then you have from October to December to figure out what you're going to do for the following year. And if you get a really bad one-off year, that could totally change the percentage of the budget. If you try to do it like 1 year.
Yes.
And that's why I'm saying a lot of, they look at the trend, it's 5-year trend.
Yeah, makes sense.
So that's something you might want to consider moving forward. I don't know, but I can present options.
Okay.
Thanks, Chief. Madam Chair, if it's okay, I'd like to move that we pass the memorandum of understanding with Westtown Township regarding the suspension of the reconciliation provision of the PPU system until September 30th, 2025.
Second.
Thank you. Okay, so Barbara seconded that if you didn't hear that, Jess. All right, does the board have any other questions for the chief?
Nope.
Is there any other board discussion? Are there any questions in the room? Are there any questions on Zoom? Seeing none, I'm gonna call the question then. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. All right, very good.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, chief.
I'll see you on the 28th.
Have a good night. Thank you. All right, and now we move along to Goshen Fire. All right, Chief O'Neill, come on up. How are you tonight? Great.
Good. For the month of January, we had a busy month to start off the year. Fire and fire police were busy. Call numbers were inflated because of storms that came through mid-month. At one point, we covered 14 calls in a 7-hour period due to storm-related calls. Our ambulance crews continue to be on busy. They average 15 calls per day in the month of January.
Oh.
Children with serious calls, we had an auto accident entrapment on 352 East Coast Township. We had a building fire in Westchester Pike in East Coast Township, and we had an elevator rescue in Rebellion all month of January.
How many people were entrapped in the elevator?
I believe 1 or 2, and they were successfully removed.
Okay, how long were they in the elevator, do you know?
I believe it by less than half an hour.
Oh, that's not bad, okay, good.
Elevator rescues usually, pretty well, unless it's.
That's one of the reasons why I asked.
I believe there were police and just never called.
Okay, good, okay.
3-year summary, it's actually monthly summary, for only 1 month, but just to kind of run over some of the highlights for you, Township. Fire response, we ran 35 calls in Scotia for the month of January, 129 man hours. That compares to 17 calls in January of 2023. And I apologize, I believe it was a typo on here. The first two, the third and fourth column year to date should be 2024, not 2023. And then the third year to date. For a month of January altogether, the Goshen Fire Company ran 76 fire calls compared to 51 fire calls last year for the month of January, so we're up 29% for the year. For the company as a whole, up 106% for calls in East Goshen Township, January 2024. Fire police likewise, again, a lot of this was storm related. They ran 13 calls in East Goshen compared to 6 calls in East Goshen in January 2023, which is a 117% increase. Year to date, or month to date, I guess, the month of January, fire police ran 40 calls total, which is compared to 36 calls last January 2023. Our April's kind of right on par. East Coast, we were at 201 calls in January. Last year, in January, we had 203 calls. In January of 2023 compared to January 2024, the period overall, 450 calls for the year. So EMS has been consistent. Just to give you a highlight of some of the more types of calls we're handling, should be no surprise from the fire standpoint. False alarm still continues to be our number one type of call. The good news is, you notice that percentage is at 34%. You do been averaging between 40 to 50% for all of echo alarms. I think our percentage is down because we ran a lot of storm related calls in January.
Okay.
So that percentage is actually down. Our second type of call was the rescues and emergency calls. Those are accidents, assisting the ambulance, things of that nature, at 25%. And then hazardous condition calls, which is mostly a lot of the wires calls we dealt with the storm. That was 19, almost 20% of the calls. Just to give you an update on some of the current activities we have on emergency side, our ambulance subscription drivers out there. We're actually sending out the second notice letters to reminder for people to ask for donation for membership. Our business donation drive is ongoing, and we are required to know that for the end of March. Up the station, I'll be there for each day, March 29th, 30th, 31st. That's all I have. Any questions?
I have a quick comment.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say, I meant to tell Chief Bernard as well. I wanted to thank Officer Bettinghoff for his attention to my parents. And also Goshen Fire sent out EMS to my parents twice, one night. That was fun. And all is well, fortunately, but we really appreciate the fast response time and the professionalism of both teams. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
That's great to hear that. Feedback. We appreciate it.
Thank you. I did send an email too. Anything for the chief?
I just have one question, and I always forget, even though I live right across the street, to ask this. The Teslas in the back, is that owned by the fire? Is that ground owned by the fire company? Does Tesla?
No.
No, I was gonna say like, oh my gosh, it's like 50 Teslas back, but do they just pay, does the Tesla on Route 3 pay you guys to rent the space there to park the cars?
Space on fairgrounds, Tesla, as well as Freddy's Ford chassis.
Okay, and then what about the mulch? Is the mulch in the back?
Yes.
Same thing, got it. Sorry, I always forget to ask, and
Yeah,
tonight I finally remembered.
obviously, our big money maker for the garage going fair,
Sure,
but we are looking for ways to use that garage
I love it.
other times of the year, and that's one of the ways that they put their cars and they pay for it all, and with, that's what they come to, they move.
Yeah, I saw that. I see them move like in the afternoon.
So because Ted Harrison was not on the microphone, it was, so Tesla then and Fred Bean are using some of the space and they're renting that space from the department. Excellent. And the mulch company as well.
There and Tesla parts.
Thank you. That's great, thank you. Any other questions for the chief? Peter, anything?
What's your plan for battery fires? Cars.
We were the first ones to have a car fire in Chester County.
Yeah.
Last January. We were there for just an hour and a half. It was a very cold night. I was there. The biggest thing for the battery electric vehicles is just a lot of water, just, really, if the battery's involved. Let it burn. So
Well, you can't get into the battery.
it's not,
No.
your best bet is to let it burn itself out. Or a typical car fire, we can put out,
Mhm.
750 gallons of water.
Mhm.
Electric vehicle, like 3,000.
Oh.
Like, for the electric car fire, we had up on, January,
Yeah.
we have 3 engines there, 2 of them are shoveling water. Each engine carries 50 gallons of water. Maybe 3 trips to our station.
Is there any toxic runoff from that battery?
Typically, no, but we'll take it, see where it's going, it's gonna be short. But yeah, it's just, the big, the other problems that it wants to put the fire out, like it's just, we have, with the fire, it doesn't still have it, but release the contractor, here, it's a fire again, and we finally just release it. We had to follow the tow truck carrier. They actually took the car down to the Westchester Fire Station. Put the there away, and so it did reignite for a little late. It will pitch in.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
if anybody has, if no one has any other questions, we'll let you guys go. Thank you again for coming out. No, thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for coming out and talking to the Cub Scouts earlier tonight. We appreciate it.
Madam Chair, the Malvern Fire Company and Good Fellowship report are in there for anybody to read at their leisure. The 2023 year end is in there now for Good Fellowship. It was not ready last month, so I just wanted to note that.
Got it. Thank you. All right, we have no public hearings this evening, so we'll move on to the financial report. Dave, you want to take it away?
Thank you, Madam Chair. As of January 31st, net of pass-throughs, the general fund had year-to-date revenue of $384,969 and expenses of $1,066,219 for a net result of
negative $681,250.
It's 81,250?
Yep.
Okay. Because I didn't understand that 67,000.
No, that was incorrect. That was the difference between this year, January, and prior year, January.
Gotcha. Thanks, Ed.
Mhm. As of January 31st, general fund balance was $5,580,627. Our January revenue finished 12.5% or $55,000 under budget. EIT is by far the primary driver for that. It's about $79,000 under budget. Although we did catch up in alarm fees, which was a positive January outcome versus the budget. Our January expenses are 1.2%, $13,000 over budget, and storm cleanup, snow removal, parks and recreation event submissions is driving a slight increase in expense versus budget. Questions?
Anyone have any questions? I just wanted to ask under fines. So under fines, do we have a breakdown of what these fines are? Are these the fire department alarm fines?
These are it's primarily one. The vast majority of 16.5 thousand is Wellington. And 2,000 is venture programs. That's an insurance company and a corporate park.
So I'm sorry, 16,000.
16,500 between Wellington and venture programs. But the vast majority of that is Wellington. They are $14,000 of that,
14,000.
but now they're all caught up.
Oh, they are all caught up.
Yes.
And has that money been sent to the fire department?
No, not yet.
Okay. All right, and then the venture programs, is that money to go to the fire department or is that for codes?
These are all fire alarms.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. I don't have any other questions. Everybody else is good. Are there any? Okay. All right, moving along, approval of the minutes from February the 6th.
Madam Chair, I move that we pass the minutes from the February 6th meeting.
Thank you. Are there any corrections that anybody have? Okay, so, as I was not here, I'm going to abstain from this. I read the minutes. Thank you for taking care of business. Are there any questions in the room or in the Zoom room regarding the minutes? And seeing none, I'll call it question. Those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And just one abstain. All right, moving along to the treasurer's report from February 1st, February 15th. Dave, you want to take that?
Certainly, EIT collections, LSD collections, transfer tax collections, Comcast and Verizon franchise fee fees, permit and codes fees, local service tax collections, recharges, rent, and parks and rec registrations, and rentals drove our general fund revenue during this 2-week period. The general fund expenses included our monthly LEDO contribution, engineering services, stormwater materials and rentals, insurance, and other routine operational expenses. The capital reserve fund incurred $19,000 of expense for the budgeted mower replacement. Bond fund incurred $91,000 of expense for Milltown Dam improvements by Flyway excavating. The infrastructure sustainability fund incurred $5,000 of expense for the Goat Tree Pond 1 rehabilitation costs. And the ARPA fund incurred $112,000 expense for the final payment to JOAO and Bradley Construction for their work completing the Hershey Mill Estates sanitary sewer rehab.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I move that we accept the receipts and approve the expenditures as presented in the expenditure register and summarize the treasurer's report.
Thank you.
Second motion.
Thank you. All right, are there any questions on the board regarding the bills?
One really quick question. Are we done paying for the Hershey's Mill Estates sewer?
Authority, yes.
100% done.
Yes.
I'll just joke with Derek. I said, I feel like every other month we have like a,
There could be a $50 engineer.
I don't.
They're always late.
Anybody else have any other questions regarding any of these bills? Are there any questions in the room or on the Zoom room? Seeing none, I'm going to call the question. Those in favor of paying the bills? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. Okay. All right, moving along to the 2024 chair appointment for the Environmental and Sustainability Advisory Council.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So now that we do have a full membership in the ESAC, we are looking to appoint the chairperson tonight. Unlike a lot of the other ABCs, the Board of Supervisors by code does have to do that every year. So hopefully next year we'll get this on the reorganizational meeting and just do it that way from now on. But that's what I'm asking for tonight is one chairperson for 2024.
Madam Chair, I move we appoint Christy Marshall as Chair of the Environmental and Sustainability Advisory Council for the 2024 calendar year.
Thank you.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. Are there any questions regarding this appointment in the room or on the Zoom room or on the board? None? Seeing none, I'm going to call the question. Those in favor of appointing Christy Marshall to our ESAC president, aye.
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 And no opposed, thank you. Sorry for my cough. I wasn't at the last meeting because of this. So I apologize. Resolution for first responder tax, Derek, do you wanna-
Sure, thank you. So we did discuss this at the last meeting. We discussed this at length last year as well, prior to this board taking their seats. This is a accompanying resolution to the ordinance we passed last year, 129-C-2023, allowing tax credits for volunteer first responders within the township. This would apply to real estate and income taxes. The resolution is a necessary component because it actually establishes the eligibility criteria by which somebody is eligible for those tax credits. So I think we looked at it last meeting and I think the board was okay with the way it was presented, and this is the actual resolution to pass it finally. 2024-05.
Madam Chair, I move we pass resolution 2024-05, establishing eligibility criteria for volunteer first responders seeking tax credits for both real estate and income taxes within East Goshen.
Thank you. Thank you. Are there any questions regarding the verbiage in this ordinance? On the board?
Did anybody find out how many people are going to be affected?
Right now it's just estimates. We haven't figured out specifics to, I mean,
What's the ballpark?
I mean, I think it's gonna be less than 50. I mean,
Teddy's nodding his head in agreement.
Is that a pretty good estimate for you?
Could you actually come up to the microphone? That way the Zoom room can hear you too. Sorry.
Thank you, Ted.
I appreciate the fact that you're here. Thank you.
So for Goshen Fire Company, it should be somewhere around 25. We've done this now for 2 years at West Goshen. We just started also with West Town. One thing we did notice with West Goshen is there is fluctuation every year. Not wild swings, but there is a criteria. So some years we may have folks that don't make enough calls or enough training or whatnot. So they'll drop. Other years we'll get people who come on. So, you know, there is some ebb and flow, but from Goshen, somewhere in the ballpark of 25.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Are there any other questions from the board or in the room or in the Zoom room? Seeing none, I'm going to call this question. Those in favor of passing ordinance for the relief? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All right, moving along to the carbon dioxide pipeline ordinance.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So last time we had this is a continued discussion from January 16th, but also from last year in November as well. As people in the audience can explain better than I can, the carbon dioxide pipeline issue is becoming a real issue around here. They're supposed to be more volatile as far as compared to what is running through those pipes right now. And what we were looking to do was protect East Goshen as much as possible prior to any carbon dioxide pipeline actually coming live here in East Goshen. So we were looking at the ordinance as far as setbacks and some other protections. We had a discussion January 16th. Mark Thompson and I got together, and essentially the biggest thing we discussed, I think, is January 16th is what we want to do with the setbacks. We kept them the same, mainly because some of the numbers we were tossing around were so similar anyway. We didn't think it was worth changing at the time. So, and we also put it as a standalone ordinance as was recommended that night, which is probably the biggest change you'll see in here. But other than that, the language is pretty similar, Mark. I don't know if you want to add anything else, but I don't think we changed anything except the standalone aspect of it.
Just to address the issue the board raised that.
Yeah.
So it's essentially the same.
So this is very novel in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, so it will be sort of a test ordinance. You do have the option to, you know, authorize us to advertise it tonight, and then we can bring it up at the next meeting, or you can have further discussion. It's up to the board totally.
Okay, Jerry, do you have anything that you wanted to add to this? Do you want to come on up and make your comments?
Just a couple of very brief comments. So, Derek said,
This is Jerry Sexton.
yeah, Jerry Sexton, I'm the chair. So Derek said, I sensed there was some anxiety about the values that we put in the work for the setbacks. And so I gave some more thought, and I noticed one thing that, and I should have picked this up before. You were working on the pipeline task force, working on Fairlight County. Pipeline incident patterns for Chesapeake County. And in there it says, kind of paraphrase, based on info in the emergency response guide, preliminary evacuation distances for HVL, public volunteer, and release of those is a minimum of a half-mile radius. And I've also found this half-mile radius is quoting some other guidelines like this. So a typical carbon dioxide pipeline is going to operate at around 1,900 pounds of pressure. And HVL, like we have here with Mariner East, they operate at around a little under 1,500 pounds of pressure. So it's a lot higher pressure. The pressure is the driving force that pushes the gas. There's a breach of the pipeline. Higher the pressure, the higher the amount of gas is going to be released, and the farther it's going to get. So in my mind, because of the fact that the carbon dioxide is not technically considered an HVO, it behaves a lot like an HVO. And at the higher pressure, it's really going to push that material along distance. So, I'm quite comfortable. I'm going to recommend that we stay with those values that we have separate for the site. And my recommendation is to authorize advertising and ordinance and moving on to the next step.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions or comments? then?
I assume that the whole pipeline group is supportive of this. Good.
Are there any questions for Jerry on the board? Okay, so I would accept the motion.
Madam Chair, I move we authorize the township manager and township solicitor advertise the attached ordinance for passage, a standalone ordinance establishing setbacks and other requirements for carbon dioxide transmission pipelines within East Goshen Township. Thank you, task force.
Thank you.
Second motion.
Thank you. So we have no questions here. Are there any questions in the room or on the Zoom room regarding this? So this will be just for the advertising component of the ordinance. So we'll go ahead and take that vote then. Everybody in favor of advertising?
Aye.
Aye.
Excellent. Okay. All right. Zoning hearing board alternate appointments is the next item up for discussion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We're really getting there as far as having all our ABCs almost full as a couple of agenda items tonight. But this one is actually for alternates for the ZHB, as I explained in the memo. Alternates for the zoning hearing board, more important than any other board to have alternates because they're quasi judicial. They need to meet when they need to meet in order to hear applications. We do have, in my opinion, 2 qualified individuals in order to appoint tonight for alternates. That is Jim Christensen, who was formerly actually of the Pipeline Task Force, so I worked with Jim pretty closely. And then also we have Michael Trio, who is a resident of East Goshen. He is also a former city manager from Coatesville, and I think he was a township manager somewhere else, I believe Newtown Township. But he has a plethora of zoning and planning experience as well. So we appreciate the volunteerism, spirit of volunteerism.
I would accept a motion.
Madam,
Oh, you got it.
John, please be my guest.
I
Make
move
them all.
we appoint Jim Christensen and Michael Trio as alternates to the East Goshen zoning hearing board.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Are there any questions regarding these appointments on the board? In the room or in the Zoom room? Seeing none, I'm going to call the question. Those in favor of appointing Michael and Jim?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I have a
for stepping
question
up.
though.
Thank you.
Not beyond that. Do we have openings that still exist on other of the ABCs?
So after Conservancy and Pipeline Task Force are put in place tonight, I don't think any of the, well, historical, and that's the
Yeah.
one we
We'll
were,
have to have
that's the
it.
one we were toying with what we were
There's
gonna
something
do
with
here.
that in my head, okay.
Because that was going back and forth of whether we were gonna actually try to resolve or not,
Okay,
but
well,
Well,
we're getting there.
as is my prerogative, I'm going to swap up under new business. I'm going to swap A and B. So let's go ahead and talk about the pipeline task force.
Thank you. Go ahead, sorry. Madam Chair, I move that we appoint our former colleague and friend David Shuey and Mary McCloskey to the vacant seats, both of them on the East Ocean Pipeline Task Force.
Thank you. And is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. Are there any questions regarding these appointments on the board? In the room or in the Zoom room? Seeing none, those in favor, please vote aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. And now we'll go ahead and go back to A. Thank you very much.
Madam
for
Chair.
that. Thank you.
so this is a fun topic. So this happens every winter, there's snow, and it's happened in my previous position and now in East Goshen. Plow trucks, damage mailboxes during storms, not necessarily the plow trucks, the snow that actually launches from the plow trucks is mainly the culprit. A lot of times it is rotted out posts, but nonetheless, we do deal with that with residents. Right now, per a policy that was passed by the Board of Supervisors, there is a $25 reimbursement for a broken mailbox. We just wanted to bring this up because some of the residents I kind of gave this information to this winter have kind of balked at that reimbursement price because of the cost of goods and services nowadays. So
How many? How many have we had?
how many damage? This last storm was a lot. It was probably like, I'm gonna say 6 or 7 because of the heavy wet snow. What, not, I'm sorry, not this past one, the one before that.
One
where
before.
The heavy wet. But it can vary obviously depending on the winter. But I would like to say too, though, I know this for a fact, there is no standard across what townships do. I mean, some do reimbursements, some do none. There's others that actually supply a basic post and mailbox. So and I know a township that used to actually work with a third party to go out and repair them.
Oh, no.
So there's just, I just wanted to give that example. There's a lot of different ways to go about it and there's not really anything set in stone. So
Okay.
I was wondering if the board wanted to take at least a look at the reimbursement amount. You don't have to, this is completely a board decision, but again, I think the feeling among residents that come across this is that's the $25.
I have a question.
Sure.
It's a good question. Could we ask somebody who might know his way around Home Depot, how much it costs for a mailbox? Can you find that out?
$28. Yeah, look up the.
There you go.
Ah, there you go.
There you go. Does that include the post?
Nah, it's just
No.
the mailbox itself.
That's usually what breaks off is
Is the mailbox.
just the mailbox. If the post is rotted, that's due to lack of maintenance.
Yeah,
A lot of them are.
and everybody getting as close to the can as the post when they cut their grass or their person who cuts their grass does it, the trimmers, I mean, I had to do my dad before. You gotta take care of the post.
So what's a post cost?
All in, just for materials, you're probably looking at $40-50.
But the post isn't gonna break from wet snow. That's gonna be due to a rotted post or it's too weak anymore. The mailbox
Most
is
of
blown off the top by wet snow. That's one thing.
Yep.
So you said how much was the mailbox?
$28.
So that's enough.
In all
The
fair,
minimum.
and all, yeah, I'm looking right now, you can get one for $28.48 from Eric's Rivals at Lowe's.
2040.
$28.48, yeah.
I think the other aspect of this, I'm just trying to play devil's advocate and what the residents are telling me. Not everybody can do it themselves. There's a lot of people out there, whether it's because of lack of ability or age or whatnot, need to pay somebody to do it for them. So that's where some of their costs are coming in as well. So that's just what has been expressed to me, from residents, so.
Okay,
I'm okay with increasing it to $50 if necessary.
yeah, I think that I would be okay with an increase to $50 as well. John, what do you think your number is? I'm saying 50. That's what Cody and Barbara have both said too. What do you think?
I originally said 100, so I went down to
I
50.
originally said 75. I said,
You're negotiating with yourself.
I said 75 too, but
I'm afraid to go any higher than 50. Because there are people who will blame us when their mailbox gets hit in the summertime.
no, it's true.
So we don't want to put it up too high and.
Everyone's mailbox is
Bonus.
pretty, yeah.
Pete, what do you think? 50? 50 could be reasonable. Yeah. So it sounds like all
Okay.
5 board members are of the opinion that $50 is a reasonable amount of money.
So based on that feedback, I will be back next meeting with the resolution,
Okay.
making it $50. So there is no
Okay.
vote tonight, so I appreciate it.
Okay, keep in mind, that's a 50%, that's 100% increase over, what they decided March 2009.
And
So
we'll probably never get snow ever again now.
that's okay. All right. Under Conservancy Board appointment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, Conservancy Board did have one vacant spot. Julia Ross was interested in filling the seat. She has been to the Conservancy meetings and they are in support of her appointment. I know Cody is the liaison there. I don't know if you have anything to add about Julia, but
They voted in full support of her, I think it was 5-0 vote or whatever it was Valentine's night.
I have a request though. I don't know the woman at all. And I'll vote for this tonight because you vouch for her. But I'd like to see a resume or something next time we put somebody on it. Maybe see.
I could forward, I have it. I just didn't put it in the packet. I'll forward it.
Well,
Please.
Because we were only doing it for, we were only previously doing it for competitive seats. We weren't doing it for open seats, but we can do it for,
That's why that's when we were doing interviews.
but for competitive opens for 2 seats.
For
Yeah,
competitive,
but this is just 1 for 1.
we should still have a resume so that we could see who's
Sure.
coming up.
That's fine.
I'm fine with it now. Madam Chair, I move we appoint Julia Ross to fill the remaining open seat in East Goshen's Goshen, I don't know. Like that, Conservancy Board.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Are there any questions regarding Julie's appointment on the board, in the room, or in the Zoom room? Seeing none, I'm gonna call the question. Those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, Derek, standing issues.
Milltown Dam project, there was just a, project meeting last week, still moving along, no issues. We haven't had any of that January stretch, like that 1 week we got in January that just held up that, and then the second project on here, Bow Tree with the dredging, which that should be wrapping up fairly shortly, so I'm just gonna tie these two together since I'm talking about that. Milltown Dam, as I know, right on target for the dam work, should be end of April, early May. Bow Tree Pond, the dredging should be, I would say the next couple of weeks.
They're done.
They're done.
I
Yeah.
thought they had a little bit more to go.
No,
No,
they're just
they-
getting out of there.
No, we got them to measure it all. I went out with the guys, they wrapped it all up, yesterday.
Okay, I thought they had a little bit more to go, but other than that, now they have restoration work will now commence. So that'll be a little bit, and then that'll be obviously done before the Milltown Dam project. So both projects.
What's the
moving on.
next step in the Milltown Dam project?
So that's a good question, and I would like to bring it up as an agenda item at some point in the very near future. My thoughts in talking internally is that we take a look at what those park enhancements were on paper and see, I think the biggest worry is starting from scratch again. So there were outlined enhancements, so to speak, about the Milltown Dam in those engineering plans. We didn't do it obviously because of money, but I feel like there are certain things we can take out of that plan.
The engineering plan exists, right?
Correct.
And it's been approved and everything's okay.
Yes.
Have they done anything actually on the ground?
No, we
For
didn't.
enhancement wise, no.
Enhancement, we didn't approve that.
I'm not talking about enhancements, I'm talking about dam.
Yeah, it's almost
Yeah,
done.
it's almost,
By
it's
April.
been, yeah, it's been,
It's coming down, well,
yeah, it's been breached mostly.
mostly.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's what I want to know.
Yeah.
What the progress is.
Progress is good.
Okay,
But the next steps for the enhancements, we're gonna have to talk about if we want to go there.
The total taking down of that dam it will be complete before Bow Tree is done. Because they've gotta let all the bags, they gotta let them sit, dry out, and that could be 6 months, could be a year. They don't know until they go in and cut it and test it.
Right.
Just to set expectations, it might not be until next year.
For the restoration
Yes.
itself.
So
yeah,
restoration of Bow Tree.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, fine.
But the Milltown enhancements, as you call it, we can get working on that.
Right.
Okay. Who has conservancy? See if they can, and Eric's here too, see if they can, interest anyone in a tree planting.
We actually talked about that our last meeting or the meeting before, talking about the Milltown Dam, how it's finishing up, and then the board's gonna decide what to do moving forward, but there was some interest in potentially doing a tree planting down there.
Oh, good.
Some type of.
Yeah.
We're working with one of the corporations in the township too, to pay for it.
How about that outfit that
What
gave
about-
us the trees,
That's what I was gonna say. What about them in Tree City?
yes, yeah,
I mean, it could
Yes.
be, yeah.
That one, and then Jason also gave us the names, the contact for CTDI and one
Good.
other corporation in the township that does.
okay.
They have, their staff's required to do X amount of volunteers and so forth.
And
So,
Cynthia's is one of the.
yeah, that's, thank
Yeah,
you.
I like doing that stuff, I'll come out and volunteer.
absolutely.
Because when
I don't know how long I can do it.
Me neither.
When we are looking at going forward with enhancements after this initial work is done, I mean, if you look at the low hanging fruit, planting of good vegetation for that area and possibly kind of a trail around it or something like that can be some of the more low cost measures we can do
Yeah.
without doing the whole thing.
Right.
Yep,
And
Great.
residents want the whole thing.
okay.
All right, are there, any other matters that the board has? to bring?
I do have one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do have one. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right.
So I just want to go on record tonight because I did have a lot of inquiries about the quote unquote Schiffer property, which is in the
Oh, yeah.
northern part of East Goshen Township off of Morstein Road. It is about 20 acres in East Goshen, 30 acres in East Whiteland, and roughly an acre, I think, in West Whiteland. So it encompasses 3 townships, which is confusing enough. But the Schiffers sold the property to Westchester University Foundation because they wanted, she was a big contributor, Nancy Schiffer, to the university. She wanted the university to benefit from that. So that transaction just took place. It's obviously a real estate private transaction. But there were some rumors floating around on the East Whiteland side, mainly that there could be some land development going on there as far as homes.
And you're talking specifically about the horse farm that's on Morse.
Specifically about the horse farm, yes, specifically. So we kind of looked into it. As far as my knowledge, East Whiteland, and this is, speaking to East Whiteland and the foundation lawyer, East Whiteland is actually looking to purchase that entire parcel, those entire swaths of land for open space. East Whiteland is very short on their open space program. They would like more. So they are trying to work with the foundation in order to purchase it for open space. It's a long way away. They're just starting that process. But I just want to assure the residents that if that ever took a 180 turn and there was an application in front of us for single family homes, which is what it would be. It's an R2 district. Most likely it would be single family homes, 1 household per acre. Again, not on the table right now. That application would have to come to East Goshen, regardless of who owns it. So I just wanted to let every resident here and then also listening tonight. And then I've also emailed residents that currently there is no application for land development on that piece of land. That's up right now. So we will keep an eye on it.
Finish the story then. If someone applied to put 10 or 15 or 20 homes on that property,
Mhm.
that is R2,
Mhm. That's a by right use.
what recourse would the board have?
They could, I mean, if it's a by right use in 15 to 20 single family homes, they could, I mean, you could talk about purchasing the land at that point to make it open space, keep it open space.
Would we be able to turn down,
Depending on-
developers' request to, build it?
Can't legally turn it down if it's by right use, but I mean, if
That's
it's,
what I thought. So these developers develop very quietly until they have the money or the property in their pockets. We could see development go up there.
well, Currently, again, the foundation is working with East Whiteland Township because East Whiteland Township would like to have it as their open space. To my knowledge, that's what's happening right
Including
now.
our 20 acres, or
Correct.
could they buy
East Whiteland can
20
purchase.
acres of our,
Yes,
yes, township and make it
open
open
space,
space
they would,
and get credit for it?
yes,
Would we also get credit for it?
Are we sure of this?
yes, we,
We haven't done any extensive analysis, but I think that's the general thought.
All right, well,
Can we get a map?
I don't want to be surprised, that's
yeah,
all.
I can get them out.
All right, any other matters on the board?
Yeah, one matter, and, you weren't here. So I want to inform you that we discussed, having a small celebration for, Memorial Day.
Ah.
At the end of May, and, I don't know, if we need to, do we need an ad hoc committee, or should we put it in Jason's hands? Or-
Jason is actually, he had emailed saying he's starting the process by meeting with the VFW.
All right, I just don't want to hear that there's a pickleball tournament. That's all.
We can multitask. So,
Make sure Jason.
Are there, are there any liaison reports? Oh, sorry, excuse me, public comment first. Is there any public comment from anybody here in the room or in the Zoom room? Okay. Liaison reports. Barbara, do you have any liaison reports yet from ESAC? Okay. Cody, you reported that, a tree planting was discussed for Milltown Dam with Conservancy.
Yeah, nothing, we had no specifics, just an idea of potential tree plantings.
Okay. Pete, do you have anything from Parks and Rec?
No, no.
Okay. John, do you have anything?
Planning
No,
hasn't met
Planning
yet.
hasn't met yet, okay? And, I was at the municipal authority, and at this point, Dave is doing a 10-year, capital replacement plan, so that we have a better idea of what kind of funds they're going to need, and also an evaluation, a reevaluation of the, sewer fees, the rate schedule. So that's my report. I would really like to make sure that we're doing a liaison report so that we're not taken by surprise by anybody's ABCs moving forward. Is there any correspondence or reports, Derek?
not this time, Madam Chair.
All right, Cody, we're at our favorite time.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Is there a second? Second. Thank you. And those in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks for coming, everybody.